Howdy, you delicious people. I'm here today to review Flashdance. So, I have kind of been for a while wanting to do a dance movie for a very long time. And, eventually I was like, well, should I do Footloose? Should I do any number of other kind of movies? Save the Last Dance, uh, Dirty Dancing, Gregory Hines' White Castle. I'm sure there's a plethora of different things that I've to probably known about, but probably not to go on and exactly have pop in there like Step Up or Magic Mike or some other goofy other thing. Striptease, Showgirls for some of you guys out there. So, because you might have watched Scream 2 and know that movie exists. So, Breaking Electric Boogaloo. Anyways, we make our way into Flashdance, and of course we have the iconic pull the lever, the water comes down, splashes on the girl with the chair. And we go on and we find that that scene had been used in a number of other things, like Deadpool even. So, yeah, that scene is to be, of course, so iconic. Then you go on, you realize that this movie actually has a pretty good message of basically, like, try to achieve your dream, or they say die, but I say, like, try to find an alternative that'll make you equally happy for the rest of your life. So we go on into Flashdance here, and we have characters that are trying to live their dream. We have guys like Richie who wants to be a comedian. We have Gina who's trying to be an ice skater. We have Alex that is to go on and try to be a dancer and go to this dance school. Then we go on and we have Tina, who her dream is to just have her guy that she was to have gone on and dated call her back. Oh my god, does that just be a reoccurring thing that's going on in this film? And it almost kind of gets to a comedic aspect of it being kind of continued to be used within this film so often. And then the final conclusion of it, he called back. Yeah, throw a freaking parade for Tina, because god dang, Tina has. Why didn't by the end of it Tina just say that she called him and they worked it out? I would have liked that conclusion also, but like, oh, he called back. Yeah, great. Wonderful, Tina. I really enjoyed you in Dirty Dancing, as well as also seeing you do the frickin' splits in here, and god dang was she like, bravo, Tina. Uh, with your catcher's helmet or mitt or whatever that thing was. Um, catcher, yeah, the helmet thing. Uh, so we make our way into getting to know Alex in this film, a dancer, and I hesitate to maybe even say stripper because really, like, I don't know that kind of world and exactly what is to be considered that or not. But a dancer by night and a welder by day. And a welder character, I'm like, I have never really seen a main character ever be a welder in my life. And so that's very fascinating to see this character being this in this film. But so, anyways, and I also hesitate to say stripper for this character because feasibly, when looking at it, like we have a number of different kinds of burlesque. We have women that are to go on and just have tassels on, where you can have them be covered up their nips. We've gone on to see women that are to just take off, to only still have revealed their underwear or undergarments on. There are many different subtle layers of actual just stripping and what have you. And also we'll go on and see a strip bar where women will just be dancing around nude within this film. And of course, it's like, I'm an appreciative person of female form because, heck yeah, like you flexible, you see uh these women that are showing it all, and so I'm enjoying everything in between. So we have Alex that goes on to, besides having this dream, she also is to have a potential bit of boyfriend here. Alex goes on and meets up with Nick by the first conversation of his Vogue reading, which I'm sure Nick may have gone on and maybe read some Vogue when he was to be doing a bit of jerking it, like on the turlet at some points, right? I'm sure he wasn't really in it for the articles. So, but him just saying it's like, oh yeah, my wife used to get it. Yeah. Still, he might have gone on and done some polishing of some kind off with that bit of literature. So, why did I have to go gross right out of the gate? Anyways, well, we're 6 minutes in, so it wasn't right out of the gate. So, Alex and Nick end up together, we have to assume by the way that this movie ends, because there is some bit of rocky moments in this movie also. We have Alex going to the confessional and saying that she's having impure thoughts, when I'm either like, all right, we're gonna get some bedroom business in this film, some skin going on, and eventually when she goes on and like takes his hand and puts it into her chest, I'm like, wow, all right, great, like cool, like I'm loving the intimacy here. So we have also Nick trying to be a good guy here and like following her home, even though she says, hey, I'm gonna just ride my bike. That's not good enough. He wants to make sure that she gets home okay. So he's just taking his car and driving behind her all the way home to make sure she gets home okay. Nick goes on and interrupts a fight that goes on because of a broken nose. And Nick ends up trying to figure out a way to ask Alex out by like saying, "Hey, I will fire you," because we find out that Nick and Alex, they have an employer-employee relationship. And Nick goes on like, "Hey, I'll fire you. Let's go and have dinner at 8." So, because there is just this build up, like, yeah, they're gonna end up together, and then Nick does some kind of shady, questionable things, and Alex finds out about it, and she hates him for it. And by the end of the film, like, we're to almost have Alex kind of give up on her dream because she's just so stubborn and kind of wants to do it on her own. But hey, ladies, no, I'm not going to go there. Anyways, uh, definitely go on and definitely, no, anyways, uh, so in all honesty, now I have to go on and get to a point where I really have to start figuring out a way to, in the perfect way possible, grade this film. So for me, Flashdance, in my opinion, uh, this movie is honestly very simple, which made this to be very easy for me, because I'm like, cool, like a very simple film, like yeah, like this is going to be so fairly easy to break down, and also it's going to hopefully be a quick movie, or a quick movie and review, Um, for how honestly, like within its hour and 30 minutes, there was like 11 of it that was just like the intro. And there, of course, is to be the focus on dancing that takes up so much of this film. So yeah, like like it doesn't feel like a lot of this movie is to be also kind of completely thought through to my liking. Uh, but if anything, ultimately, I would go on and say that Flashdance is fine. Some people go on and say Flashdance is probably one of their favorite movies of all time. Maybe it's to be just a favorite as far as just like they enjoy this movie or whatever. Or maybe people just like dancing movies, which is fine. Because I can go on and eventually talk about certain dance movies that I've enjoyed, like Footloose or Dirty Dancing or whatever, because nobody puts baby in a corner. So, with that all said and done, uh, this movie is to, of course, be available on Paramount Plus. If you guys do not want to have a Paramount Plus subscription, I will go on and offer you a number of bootleggish apps you can go on and be able to find if you have a mobile device, if you have a phone, if you have a tablet, if you have a iPad. You can go on and hopefully be able to get into a Google Play Store to find these apps, hopefully, to the second recording. There are to be apps called Cleed Plus, KLEDE Plus, and you could also go on and find a app called Movie Box 3. It won't say 3 on the title, but it'll say 3 on the logo. There are probably a number of other apps that I could probably suggest to you if those apps aren't available, because I have an arsenal of just stuff that I could recommend. You probably have to search it on Google, but either way, you could say you could probably absolutely watch Flashdance right here, right now, the second this recording for absolutely free, some frickin' where. Besides probably Paramount Plus. If you already have a subscription to Paramount Plus, then you can basically watch it free anyways because you're going to watch it. Uh, Anyways, so with that all said, now it's the time to do the song and dance. It's time to get into spoiler time. Spoiler time. It's about that time getting to spoil this movie. Let me know in the comments below what's to be your favorite dance movie. Either that or let me know how your day went. Whatever you want to do. If you want to just type down their gibberish in the comments below, it does help out the video. But again, if nothing else, a view does help out. So without a doubt, like if you do nothing else, then I appreciate you going on, taking the time, whether it's 10 seconds or X number of minutos of which that I continue to go through this entire thing and just keep saying words coming out of my mouth. Either way, at the end of the day, it's very appreciative for you to go on and do anything. And if you do nothing, then even that, it'd be like, at least you knew that I do nothing, or that you did nothing, and then whatever. Moving on. So, whatever. Saying gibberish here. Let's go on. So, normally I'd go on and get a cast list, and I'd go on and I would have a bit of kind of cliff notey things that I can go on and figure out how to break down this movie. Um, and so I will pause here and get all those things out, because without a doubt, even though this movie is to be simplistic in nature, there could just still be a thing of like a pattern of rhythm that I've gone onto for so long now that it's kind of tough to break that. So, with that said, it's about that time to break down scene for scene, blow for blow, dance for dance, move for move. So, with that said, let's pause here and let's do all that. All right, so in the very beginning of this film, we have Alex that is going on and biking her way through town, because we always, in every beginning of every movie that I've ever seen for the longest time, we always have these scenery shots. I don't know why, but we have to. I guess because they have nothing better in their brains planned for a beginning of a film. I just don't get it. So, and I've complained about that endlessly. Why does this have to? Why is this always a staple? I'm so confused. So, Alex goes on and on her bike passes by this cat. She pets it, and then she continues to bike through the town. Eventually, she goes through this bridge, and then we eventually make our way into this welding warehouse of place. We have these guys that are going on and muttering about them betting on some games and so on and so forth. We come to find out that one of them is Nick and his coworker, some other welder guy. So we go on to see one of the people welding ends up revealing their helmet, and it ends up being none other than Alex. So we then cut to this Mobby's bar. I say Mobby's because Mob Eyes just sounds weird. So we find that Nick and his coworker have made their way to said bar, and eventually on the stage there is a woman dancing. I wonder who it could be. None other than Alex. So, for those of you who are to go on and not be aware, so Alex is going on and dancing in the stage. And at first, it seems that her moves are kind of like robotic in nature, like she's doing a lot of this going on. So eventually, Alex will make her way to this chair, pull this lever, and have water splash all over her. Oddly enough, like Alex likes to go on and just shake her hair out and have this water just kind of fling everywhere. And eventually, yeah, like the whole water thing does splash onto people, like, whoa, like as if they're in a Gallagher concert and they weren't aware they were going to get hit by watermelons. So, or watermelon juices. So, Nick goes on and finds the woman on the stage fascinating, so much so that he turns to his coworker and goes on to say, "Hey, man, I'll give you a lot of money if you tell me anything about this girl." And so the coworker goes on and tells Nick, "Hey, I'll go on and I'll give you all these numbers." And Nick is like, "Well, hey, I don't care about the girl's zip code." And the coworker tells Nick, "It's like, that's her social security number. She's employed by you." Like, yeah, like like how do you not know that? So Nick is like, oh, okay. Well, that's kind of the equivalent of like, well, I know or at least where she lives. That sounds a little creepy, but if anything, yeah, like that's the thing. So now cut to the kitchen. Richie is going on and doing all these kind of like kind of just crappy or just like kind of like ugh, jokes. So we have Jeannie that is going on and talking about this certain specific order while we continue to have Richie that's doing all these stupid jokes. Richie goes on and eventually mentions about how he wants to make his way to LA because I'm sure that this guy has probably endlessly talked about this because it's his dream. Jack, the owner of this club, goes on and tells Richie that he will probably never make it in LA because he's too short. And then he leaves. We have the ladies, they're in the back, and here's where we go on. We have number one of the time of which Tina is to talk about the guy who didn't call. So we have Tina that is going on and getting advice from all the girls because this guy did not call. And so the girls start lending her advice, and eventually it seems like it's going to go in one ear and out the other. So Richie ends up interrupting this advice giving with going on and asking the girls if they need a foot massage, if they need anything, that he's willing to do for them, anything. And I mean anything. And so eventually, because of how gross Richie is, they go on and fling at him, and not feces, but I'm talking about any makeup stuff that they just have ready available to just chuck at him because of how gross he is. He, of course, goes on and leaves, and we then cut to Nick by his welding warehouse of place. Like uh they're outside, they're actually by these tractors. And so Nick goes on and notices Alex. So he goes on to notice that she's reading a magazine called Vogue. Nick is to go on be an avid Vogue reader, as we come to find out in this movie, or I really just think that he really needed something to relate with her to. Uh, yeah, like, or otherwise, like, this guy was just trying to put the moves on her. He was, what a dick. Anyway, so Nick goes on and uh, asks Alice if she is to read in French because the magazine is in French. And Alex says no, she just likes the pictures. So Nick goes on and mentions that he was to have read Vogue, and Alex is like, "Oh, you read Vogue?" And Nick goes on and says, "Yeah, like my ex-wife, or like yeah, like that I'm no longer seeing. Like yeah, she used to read the magazine, so I guess in turn, Nick, I guess from a proximity, probably read that his ex-wife was reading it, so that means I guess that he read it. So Nick introduces himself, and Alex is to be like, "Yeah, your name is on my checks," and Nick is like, "Well, yeah." So we go on and we eventually have this first interaction that is to be just quasi awkward. So the next thing we see is Alex making her way back home, and she meets up with her dog Grunt. Interesting name. So, as well as also like Grunt is awesome. Like this dog is cool. He's the star of the movie. Forget about Alex and all this other. Grunt is the real star of the film here. So he's the guy. He's the glue that holds the movie together. That's pretty accurate, right? So as Alex makes her way home, she goes on and asks Grunt if he had gotten laid today. Well, I'm sure he's been laying around. So does that count? So Alex goes on and starts watching the news and starts flipping around the channels, and all of a sudden sees this channel where people are dancing. Or maybe they're just kind of doing something very creative. I'm not quite sure. Either way, we go on and we start to have Alex that is to be standing up, and then is to have seemingly what I would assume is a thing of soda within her hand. I don't know. Maybe she has a beer. I don't know. What am I to question? So Alex goes on and has this, I'm assuming, soda in her hand, and all of a sudden she starts to do this ballet move, and she does this spin, and she accidentally spills some of the soda upon her shirt. And so she takes a towel and cleans it off. In the background, we start to see books and all kinds of things that are tell us more about Alex. If anything, I'm to really just know a way more about her when we start to actually see her dance here very shortly. So Alice goes on and puts tape on her feet. For those of you that are to go on and probably have a bit of foot fetish, you might go on and get something out of this. So here's where Alex goes on in her undies and tank top, and goes on and is like shaking her body so much so that her just like sweat is just flying everywhere. Or maybe it's her Jerry curl. I don't know. Do you guys remember the scene from Coming to America where uh, the family is to be like with Jerry curl, and then all of the three people get up from off the couch, and obviously on the couch there'd be these like stains upon. Yeah, I'm just thinking of that within the scene, um, for some odd reason. So we would go on to then see Alex doing all of these like stretches, and I'm just like, wow. Uh, just like I would go on and I would have gone on in my high school to be involved in weightlifting classes. And sometimes there are to be some women that come in there and they were really flexible. Not saying that it's to be a thing of like, hey, if you want to get with a guy like, who am I to say even say that? That you need to be flexible. No. You just need to be a woman. And even that sometimes the bar is very low. Anyways, uh but I would go to these weightlifting classes and there'd be this just one girl who would just be stretching outside, and I mean she's really stretching it, and I would just be like, wow. I would be so impressed because I'm like, yeah, like I am nowhere near any kind of flexible kind of person. So when seeing that, I was like, wow, okay. Um, but when I was to have gone on and even like been in a weightlifting class, I was skin and bones, and like I really was not gonna think I was ever gonna go on and get anywhere buff from doing any of that, um, and I never did. Uh, but years later, I still probably am not buff. I'm just thicker. So, anyways, back to the movie. So Alex is going on and doing all these stretching, and then she has this balance beam, or uh, in ballet classes, they just have uh, this kind of pole that they can, or this kind of beam, or this thing that they can just hold their hands on and just kind of like kind of stretch out that way, or kind of do these moves with their legs. Anyways, so Alex does this one move where she like arches her back and you can like see her face on screen here. And then obviously this girl had, I'm sure, like sweat every bit of water out of her body, because right after that she's like taking this drink and she's like pounding it down. So yeah, I'm sure she's freaking dehydrated for all like the moving she was doing here. And so uh this song Maniac, oh my god, in this movie, I absolutely love this song. And I go on and I listen to a cover of it because like I like a more hard rock version of this song. But yeah, um, I listen to a cover of this song still to this day at some points when I do workouts, because like it's a really catchy song. But again, I like listen to a cover to it that's much more like metal and hard rock or whatever. But yeah, I listen to Maniac. Probably not because of this movie, uh, just because I like the song. Um, so that's my connection to wanting to check out this movie, is because I remember that song. Anyways, so we also see that Alex had put in this towel on the dog, which is kind of funny. So next up, we see Alex on this bike making her way to this dance school. She makes her way in there to start to see, and this kind of gives me flashbacks of Saving the Last Dance, because we kind of see the same thing in that movie. So Alex goes on and is looking at all these dancers, and like one person is even getting a guidance of what to do, and this to be just some dude. So Alice goes on and makes her way into this office to this secretary, and there's to be like 4 to 5 women here if you count the person that's actually by the desk as the fifth one. So the secretary goes on and mentions to this girl how she needs to go on and list off in this application like the dancing experience that she is to have gone on and had, and everything of which that she can possibly just fill out in this resume, so on and so forth. And Alex is to go on and look at the girl next to her and see what kind of shoes that she's wearing compared to hers. And as further and further Alex is to go on and just start to stand here at some point thinking that she's going to go on and fill out an application, no, she just runs off. She just runs through this school, makes her way back to her bike, and just goes back to work the next day. So Alex is going on and talking to some of her other welders, and they tell her, hey, don't get dirty. So Alex goes on into this elevator, and as soon as she's trying to pull the elevator down, because it's one of those where like you have to like slide the elevator door down and then it starts going up, all of a sudden she accidentally hits Nick in the head. This kind of reminds me of like Star Wars, where in the actual movie there's a scene where the stormtroopers are like running and this door is supposed to like close like directly behind them, but there's like one stormtrooper that ends up getting hit in the head as he's kind of getting through the scene, and then the door is closing. Kind of funny. So it's kind of technically a blooper, but it's a thing that they actually just put in the film, so it's fun to notice. So we have Nick going on to tell Alex that there's a certain woman outside that can go on and make Alex a certain lunch, like kind of whatever she wants. And Alex is saying it's like, no, like I don't want any lunch. And so Nick is like, well, hey, would you like a dinner later? And Alex is like, no, don't want any dinner. And so Nick is like, okay, you don't want any lunch, you don't want any dinner. How about a snack? Just like, yeah, like he's just trying so desperately to figure out some way of like, hey, let's try to go on and figure out some kind of middle ground to just like get to know this woman. Because yeah, like there are several times where I go on and I just want to just talk to a woman without any kind of like, there doesn't have to be a relationship there. There just like, I'm not like immediately thinking about dating this girl. No, like it's all just like, hey, let's just get to know this person and just be like, like even though I find out that she has a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a goat, I don't, but whatever. Like, like it's like cool. Like all right, like so we then go on and we transition to eventually having Alex make her way to a woman named Hannah. I don't know exactly what relationship that Alex and Hannah do have. I'm sure it may have even gone on and been said somewhere in the film, but I kind of have misplaced this. So we go on and we have Alex that is trying to talk to Hannah about her time as a dancer and the times that they have gone on to see others dance as well. Alex is to go on and talk about her dream and that she saved money and uh that she can definitely support herself in going to the school. So Hannah is going on and telling Alex that no matter what money that Alex has, like this school is to just need her to apply and audition. Like it's not just a school that she can roll into without any kind of real effort. Like no, uh like this school is to go on and be like prestigious. So like yeah, like there has to be like a real kind of screening process. So the two of them hug, and then next we go on and we have Alex making her way to confessional at a church. So uh so Alex goes on and mentions the last time she'd gone to confessional and that she has sinned. Uh Alex is to go on and mention how she thinks of sex a lot, which hopefully that means she's gonna end up with Nick a lot. um, and it was kind of interesting how she's like, "Yeah, I'm thinking about sex a lot, and like I'm sure you probably know what that's like. Well, you're a priest and all." Um, but also, uh, Alex is to go on to mention how she had told a lie. She had told a lie to Hannah. So she had repented about that. So shortly thereafter that we see a guy named Johnny and a guy named Cecil, and they're at this club or this bar, and it's a nudie bar. So we have Johnny's going on like live girls, like uh, so on and so forth. And like the whole time he's doing this whole like live girls, like all right, and then he's looking at Cecil, is like, hey man, like you really need to go on, you need to clean up your act, Cecil. like man, you don't look right, like clean yourself up. Uh, so and we find them in front of this bar called or this place called Zanzibar. So we have Alex, we have Jeannie, and the two of them are doing laundry. Alex ends up finding out that Ginny has a pair of boxers. What's the big deal about that? Ooh, boxers! So, Jeannie confesses to Alex that those are actually Richie's. So, all right, like, good on Jeannie. She's doing well in the relationship department. So, like, I'm sorry, like, I would never go on and put another human being's underwear over my head, but it seems that Alex is willing to do so. Whatever. So as Alex and Jeannie uh, finish up their laundry and make their way to the street, all of a sudden they go on and they bump into Johnny, uh, where he goes on to talk to them. Uh, Johnny goes on and mentions about his car and how, like, he's asking these girls if they need a ride. He mentions how pricey the car is, the leather interior, everything, the bells and whistles. He's mentioning it all. So, uh, we have Alex that goes into Jeannie's car, and Alex goes on and mentions about how uh, the uh, the smallest measured penis is be 1.1 inches, which I gotta go laugh at that. So it is kind of interesting eventually the interaction between both Alex and Johnny, because Johnny is to basically go on and just grab at Alex's ass and just goes on and on about it. And Alex eventually goes on and pours this drink in Johnny's lap. And then in return, he wants to go on and grab on Alex later. And then Johnny punches Richie in the nose and breaks his nose. So I'm like, really? Over a spilled drink, you douche? Like, freaking, like, Johnny, really? Like, come on, man. But, like, in all honesty, when I was in school in the South, like, when I would just go on and I would just look at somebody and I would get into a fight with like him and like two other people. It didn't make any sense to me. I don't know why I got into this fight, but yeah, like if you just look at somebody, you can probably get into a fight. Like I would just be like, okay, well for the rest of my life, when I'm in a southern school, I'm gonna look down on the ground because I won't piss somebody off. So I don't know what it was. Like yeah, like I'd just be looking at somebody, all of a sudden we'd be in an argument, and then they'd want to fight me. I'm like, for what? Legit, like what's anyways, so back to the movie here. So Jamie and Alex make their way uh to the gym because they're gonna go on and they're gonna get swole and beefy. So we have Alex, Jeannie, let's bring back Tina. Guess what the conversation's going to be about. And then I think we have a girl named Heels. I'm not quite sure. I looked through the cast list. I'm not really exactly sure if this is the girl or not, but I'm going to go with that. I think there was some girls that were on the cast list that didn't have pictures, so I can be completely wrong about this name. So I have no idea. So if anyways, we're getting to number 2 here. Here's where Tina goes on about he didn't call. You know what? Now that we've gone on to dose times of her referencing this, maybe there really is a reason why he didn't call. So, and if anything, also, I have been in a gym once or twice in my life, and the machines that they're working on, for the life of me, I couldn't exactly in my mind figure out exactly what it like. It looks it's like a back machine, or it's uh like the early the earliest of like these uh like machines that are to be now like with these like pulley systems where you can go on and take this bar and like pull it down now and it has these like ropes and weights and stuff. Like I think that is to be uh now what these machines are back then in this specific movie, because I'm like, what are they doing? Like, what is this machine that I have rarely gone on to actually see in my life? So, but like, it's kind of funny. Like, the further and further this conversation goes, um, like the one girl goes on, I'm like, just get up and call the dude. I'm glad I ain't no honky. I can say that because I'm white. Like I can say the word honky. Anyways, so unless you want a bit of a honky, Adam. Anyways, I'm just trying to be funny here. So we have Tina, and she's going on, and she's taking these weights, and she's struggling. And I'm like, yeah, yeah like, yeah, come on, you can do it. Uh, or either that, or you can just eat it. I don't know. Um, but I think she was just straight up doing it for comedy, and I gotta like, okay, cool. Like it's fun to go in a weight room and see somebody struggle, and sometimes people get a laugh when people are doing machines absolutely like what was that they were trying out. But if anything, there's sometimes where I really do horrible, goofy experiments also because I'm just like, let's try this weird circus move today, and then realize what a mistake that was. Anyways, because what is that? Anyways, so Jeannie and Alex make their way through the street and all of a sudden go on to notice these guys doing these breakdancing. Especially this guy in this really white hat was kind of cool. But also, there is to go on to be no rain going on whatsoever. But this guy all of a sudden opens up this umbrella outdoors, so like it's not breaking any luck thing. And this guy goes on and does this moonwalking, and then there's this other guy that goes on and kind of does these this kind of like uh I would call it like a spinneroonie because I only know the the terms of WWE spinneroonie Booker T doing that thing on the ground where he does like the thing with his legs and so on and so forth. Like I don't know breakdancing all that well. But yeah, so we follow up with this traffic cop. This traffic cop is just guiding the traffic here, and he's kind of doing it in an interesting way. He all of a sudden sees these two girls, Alex and Jeannie, and he's kind of doing this like guitar thing. I don't know, yeah, like whatever this guy was doing, he looked rather fun doing it. And then eventually Alex goes on and is like right next to him and is like mimicking like what he's doing because it's kind of like a dance in a way. So eventually the traffic cop goes on and grabs Alex as he pulls her away from this car just driving by and ends up being none other than a police car. So Alex and this traffic cop are just having a good old time, and I hope they had fun. So next up, we see Alex and Jeannie, and they're at Jeannie's home with her parents, and they're sitting down and they're eating dinner. We have Jeannie. She's going on. She's just like gnawing on this just this corn on the cob, and so we have her father going on and eventually asking the girls like, "Hey, what are you gonna go on and what are you gonna do?" And Jeannie's father is trying to like, "Hey, you better not go on. You better not be doing anything with that Richie boy." Because of course we have to be the traditional father if he doesn't accept whatever boy that his daughter is with. Because of course, so the two of them are saying that they're going to the ice rink because, of course, uh, to get Jeannie to practice um, on what she needs to do because eventually she has to go on and have this competition that she's involved in, and she's been practicing for 2 years. So Jeannie's father's hoping that Jeannie's going to do well because of how much money he's had to sink into her to hopefully get her to do well. So the next thing we see is Alex and Jeannie. They're at the rink. We have Jeannie that is basically skating just circles around Alex, where Alex is kind of freaking out. So we start to see Jeannie like doing all these like fantastic ice skating moves, and I'm like, ooh, all right, wow. Um, so like for Jeannie, like this seems to not just be just something that they just had this character just like, oh yeah, she's to be this ice skating girl and what no, like no, she actually can really go on and do this. So I was like, okay. Uh so we now cut to Richie. Richie is going on in seemingly this hallway and practicing. And he, of course, is obviously nervous. So Jack is to overhear Richie kind of going through things. And so Jack ends up asking Richie, hey, are you nervous? Like, we can obviously tell that Richie's kind of sweating from his face. And so Jack goes on, is like, hey, I have the perfect solution for you. And he hits him in the stomach. And then he says, okay, well, you're not nervous anymore because basically all you're caring about is that you just got hit in the stomach. So, like, that is just, like, that is kind of just weirdly, like, just a, a thing that, like, well, yeah, like I guess that can go on and definitely work, but, uh, that really, really go on and do that shit? So, the reason why Richie is nervous is because he's going to go on the stage and he's going to start telling jokes. So Richie goes up and he starts telling jokes, and these jokes are honestly just kind of very basic jokes, and he's starting to get crickets. Some of the girls are kind of laughing, but, like, if anything, the audience is just kind of just dead. So we even have one point where Johnny in the crowd starts yelling, like, uh, hey, take a walk, bring out the bimbos, or bring out the ladies. And so all of a sudden, here is where Richie just transitions to finally be like, okay, like, he's gonna go on and he's gonna finally get to a point where, like, his stage is gonna get a little bit better to where he can go on and start getting jokes from people. So, because this guy is, like, at first desperately asking for a break, and then all of a sudden he starts to actually get funny. Richie goes on and tells people, it's like, well, hey, uh, you you better go on and you better laugh at my jokes, or I'm going to go on and I'm going to put cockroaches in your burgers, and everybody starts laughing. And then Jack is like, hey, man, like, maybe you should probably kind of ixnay on the whole cockroach. So uh, Richie starts going on and starts talking about things from football, and starts just doing all these jokes, and things are starting to land. People are starting to laugh. So we even get to a point where Jeannie as the waiter in the background, is to go on and just kind of look around, and she grabs one of these beers and starts drinking it. She just takes a little swiggle of a little bit. Let me know in the comments below if you've ever worked as a waiter and maybe did shit to people's food. Let me know in the comments below. Like, it's not a crime. Like, maybe you just got really pissed off at somebody. Like, I'm sure just a job like that freaking sucks. Anyways, so as we transition from Richie, we then go to then see Tina dancing. She's not complaining about anyone calling her. She's just dancing now. Thank goodness. So, and this was impressive. She gets down on, like, all four. She's crawling. But, like, that was just some seductive. That wasn't like, oh yeah, I want to get a girl down on all four. No, it just visually looked really interesting here. As she was, like, getting to the stage and, like, the camera was on her, like, that was pretty good. So, and just this whole performance was just like, man, my eyes are glued. Uh, my eyes are glued. The screen is great. So here's where Johnny goes on and he grabs Alex by the backside because he clearly doesn't respect her. because Alex goes on and gets out of her chair with the girls, and Johnny just grabs Alex by the butt and just starts talking about how nice, round, snug cheeks she has. And so down the drink, it goes on to Johnny. And so we see Nick in the background going like, yeah, that's what you deserve. Or in his mind, he could have just been like, yeah, I'm in the scene. So now cut to the bar closing, and I don't even know why Johnny and Cecil are even in that bar to begin with, because they have their own bar. Why are they there? So Richie and Alex are leaving the bar, and here's where Jack tells Richie, "Hey, don't tell any more cockroach jokes." So Richie and Alex leave the bar, and eventually, Johnny is to meet up with them. Johnny goes on and grabs Alex, and eventually, I guess this is the repercussions of the pouring of the drink earlier, which is stupid. So Richie tries to go on and defend Alex and ends up getting a broken nose for his troubles as Cecil punches him. So we then have Johnny being over by his car, and so Nick ends up telling Johnny, "Hey, let her go," from a distance. So stupid. So Johnny goes on it and adheres to what Nick says, and both Nick and Cecil walks off. So Alex looks over Richie and asks if he's going to be okay, and he keeps going on and says that he's going to be, even though he obviously has a broken nose here because his nose is bleeding. So Richard gets into his car, and Nick goes on and offers if Alex wants a ride, and Alex is like, "No, I have my own wheels," which is her bike. So as Alex goes on and gets on her bike, we have Nick that follows her all the way home. Nick goes on and gets out of his car because, or Nick goes on and realizes that Alex has this dog that gets on uh, to Nick's car, and so he asks what the dog's name is, eventually replying Grunt. Oh, that's his name? Alright. So Nick goes on and mentions like, well, hey, maybe next time, like I'll go and I'll get the dog a doggy treat as long as the owner of the dog decides that they want to go on a date with me. Alex is like, well, hey, I don't date the boss, and so Nick goes on and says, good, then I'll fire you, and so let's go and let's have a date tomorrow night at 8, right? So the next thing we see is a woman skating, and this isn't Jeannie. Eventually, Jeannie will come after this. So Nick goes on and he sees Richie next to Alex. Because, of course, Richie is there because he wants to support Jeannie. And also, it's just kind of like it's convenient that they are sitting together. So Nick goes on and asks Richie, how's the nose? And he's like, the nose is broken. So after we go on and we have the skater go out and she finishes her routine, we then have Alex that makes her way to Jeannie to kind of comfort her before she goes out there. So Jeannie's father's in the stands, stating that it's like, well, hey, good luck beating her. So we have Jeannie that starts to go out there, and she ends up doing this like X thing with her hands. She goes on and has this uh kind of uh kind of almost T pose with her body, where she has like um one foot down, and then like her body's like this, and it's of course it's like the spinning around thing going on here. And so Alex is giving Jeannie all this praise, and then the further and further we go along here, we start to see Jeannie start to fall on the ground. We see her fall down once, and like, oh man, that's too bad. And then we go on and we see her eat it twice. After she goes on and just eats it twice, she doesn't get up after that. Alex is going on and telling Jeannie, hey, get up, Jeannie, just finish it out. And she doesn't. So there are kind of people looking in the stands. Eventually, the next scene will go on, and we'll see that someone comes out from the shadows, picks up Jeannie, and they walk off. So in the back, Alex goes on and comforts Jeannie, and Jeannie's just kind of upset because she's been practicing for 2 years, and what good did it do? Honestly, Jeannie, yeah, like you could practice for 1,000,000 years, and maybe you're just not good around a crowd. Maybe you had stage fright. Who knows what it could have been? It could have been any million of things, but that doesn't mean that you're not a good skater. So we go on and we have Richie, then Jeannie's father comes in, and so you would think out of all the people, because of what Jeannie's dad had said earlier, that there wasn't going to be this tender moment here. That maybe there was either going to be some really tough love, or Jeannie's father was going to go on and say, it's like, well, yeah, I knew it. But no, Jeannie's father actually does go on and say like really nice things to Jeannie, and tells her how much he loves her, and how much she also goes on and takes a bounce pretty good also. So Jeannie goes on and hugs her father, and it's a nice tender moment here, which I really loved. So now, after the whole skating thing being over, Nick is going on and asking Alex, like, well, hey, do you want to go on and grab a bite? Like, if anything, uh, like he just starts rattling off all this food. And Nick goes on and says, like, hey, yeah, I know a really nice place that has. And then Alex says, pizza. And he's like, yeah, pizza place. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So they go on and they pick up pizza, and they make their way back to her place. So here's where things kind of take a turn to just kind of like, okay, this doesn't quite make sense here. So Alex goes on and transitions to this like sweatshirt, and then she's taking her bra off, which I'm like, okay, this is gonna get interesting. So, but as they're going on and as they're talking here, we get to a point where Alex is going on and talking about if uh if Nick has ever kind of like has ever seen the music or has ever felt the music before without actually having to put any headphones on or anything like that. So Alex goes on to tell Nick to close his eyes, and he does it very briefly. And then he says, "Well, I've had a very terrific night." And then he starts to walk off. And Alex is like, "Well, aren't you going to have some pizza?" And then the two of them get ever so close. They kiss. And then the next thing we see is that uh, Nick is coming off from the bed and sees the dog there. Nick accidentally is a little bit late for work. Alex is to go on and pop up her welding helmet and says, "Hey, aren't you a little late for work? Kind of rub it in, why don't you?" So the next thing we see is the two of them just kind of walking along on these railroad tracks, and then it looks like the two of them are at some mill. Alex starts to go on and starts running, and Nick is chasing after her. Or yeah. And so by the time that the two of them finish this odd race, Nick goes on and asks Alice, "Hey, why did you have me do that?" And Alex just says, like, "Well, hey, like, uh, she was just curious how fast he could run." So he goes on like, "Well, how did I do?" And she's like, "Fair." So Nick goes on and all of a sudden notices that Alex just does this little move that looks like a dance. And Nick is like, "Do that again. Like, what did you just do there?" And Alex is like, "Well, I just did this little dance. I just did this little dance move." So she's like, "I'm just fooling around," and so on. So Alex goes on to reveal that she's never really studied being a dancer, even though she's done it plenty enough times on a stage. So that's just experience by repetition. She goes on to mention how she never took classes or anything, like, and so on and so forth. So, and Alex goes on to eventually say that she does like to go on and dance in front of the club, but she never really goes on and sees any of the audience. She just kind of just, I don't know, just kind of goes into like just hearing music, and she just starts to move. And so if anything, also it just kind of becomes an escape for her. And sometimes she does like to just go on, and she just likes to dance, because sometimes she just feels that she even just needs it sometimes. And Alex starts to cry at this moment when saying that, like, she just really just likes to dance, um, and how much it like really means to her. Uh, Nick goes on and is to just kind of comfort her and kind of wipe her tears, but like also like if Alex is already kind of going on and saying that like that dancing could probably make her a lot more happier than kind of just being here in this moment, then I'm not quite sure exactly what that means. Um, in some ways, uh, because like there's some people that go on and they say like one thing is more important than others. Uh, to where like you go on and then you ultimately ask, it's like, well, like especially if you're in your relationship with that person, it's like, well, like is you doing that more important than like us being together? And then sometimes that question is yes. Then it's like, well, then what are we doing? Um, like that ultimately can come to that question as well. But anyways, let's get past anyways, um, so here's again, uh, where since Nick is comforting Alex, Alex goes on and takes Nick's hand and puts it on her chest. We then cut to the bar. Uh, we have Nick that's going on and clapping as we again, I think, have Alex, because I'm not quite sure because the makeup that she has on is like white, and I'm assuming that this is Alex here, is going on and dancing, and she has this like screen in front of her. And it starts off kind of like that episode with the guy with the recliner where it goes like da 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 da, da, and then like the wind is like blowing in or the fan is blowing in and the guy gets like really kind of blown away. It kind of starts off like that. So Alex is going on and dancing, and then we have Johnny and Cecil back at this bar, and Jeannie is going on and being their waitress. And as Johnny, of course, starts to talk to her and mentions how Jeannie could be a really good dancer because he has a plan for her, he goes on to give her $100 tip and kind of apologizes if he hadn't gone on to quite say anything quite nice to her. So Jeannie goes on and takes this $100, like, wow, like, you're really going to give me this much money? And he's like, yeah, go on and take it. So really also kind of buttering her up because he eventually wants her to go on and be one of the new girls working at his place. So he's almost kind of scouting people also. So all the more reason to kick this guy out of this frickin' place. So we eventually transition here after the bar, because Alex had gone on to continue to dance to where she like just dances onto the floor, and that kind of wraps up the scene here. We have both Hannah and we have both Alex going to this play, this dance recital thing. I'm not quite sure exactly what to call this. But so Hannah and Alex are going on and watching these people dance, this ballet. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say there. A ballet. And we'd come to find out by the end of this ballet that people are going on and giving or throwing flowers. Alex goes on to ask Hannah if she had ever gone on as a dancer to have gotten flowers herself. And Hannah goes on to say, it's like, no, but maybe you'll get that yourself one day. So as Hannah goes on to leave and Alex is on her own, all of a sudden she notices something. She notices that Nick is going on and putting someone into his car, and then he then goes into his car himself. And the person that he's with is to be a woman, a blonde. We would go on to have Alex follow Nick to his home and break this window and run off. Nick would go on and storm out of his house trying to figure out who it was who had gone on to do this, but Alex had left. Alex goes on, makes her way back to her place, and comes to find out that her radiator was broken, or she assumed that her dog was peeing. So Alice goes on and tries to fix her broken radiator, and Richie is there. Richie eventually goes on to explain to Alex that he's going to go on and finally make his way to LA because there's nothing left for him to do there. So Alex goes on and asks Richie, like, well, what about Jeannie? And Richie's like, yeah, well, yeah, like I have to leave. So, uh, like I guess their relationship was probably not going to work out, but eventually Richie is going to call Jeannie every day because he will miss her. So that's nice. So Richie does go on and hug Alex, and then he leaves. He drives off. So the next thing we see is Alex making her way to this woman so that way she can order some lunch. And Nick goes on and he pays for Alex's lunch and tells Alex to save her money. So here's where Alex brings up to Nick about the whole like, hey, I saw you last night with this woman, and Nick is like, what are you talking about? And Alex is like, yeah, I saw you at the ballet, and I saw you with, and like Nick is still like, what? Like what? So like, cause she's like, yeah, I saw you with that blonde, and so like Nick is like, is everybody gone crazy? Like last night, I was dealing with a broken window, and Alex right away says, yeah, and I'm the one who broke that window because I knew you were with that blonde, and so Nick goes on to explain to Alex is like, yeah, the blonde was my ex-wife. Yeah, like once a year we go to this place. Yeah, like it's a tradition. Like even though we're separated, like I still do this one thing with my ex-wife. Like we're not getting back. We just do this one thing. So Nick is going on and explaining this to Alex, and so it seems that they're like it seems that Alex does go on and have to chalk this up to be a misunderstanding. And so the two of them go to a restaurant and they eat lobster. And so we'd go on to see Alex that's really just siphoning through every little sliver and piece of this lobster, just really just going to town on this lobster, just slurping it up, just like. And so Nick is going on and mentioning about how his life has drastically changed from when he was much younger because he would never think that he'd be able to afford a restaurant like this because when he was a kid he would go on and he would get even lunch hand-me-downs, which was a kind of funny joke. So Nick goes on and asks like, hey, how are you like sucking on that lobster? And Alex is like, yeah, it sucks. And it's like, well, hey, you want some more of mine? She's like, I'm not hungry, thanks. So here's all of a sudden where Alex may be hungry for a little bit something else as we start to see that Alex's feet start to wander into the more crotchal area of our friend Nick. All of a sudden, we then go on and find out who that blonde was, a girl named Katie, Nick is Nick's ex. So Katie goes on and is to meet up with Nick, and they start talking. And Katie is to look at Alex like, oh yeah, like he's the new girl that he's been talking all about. And so Katie starts mentioning about possible things that maybe Nick took Alex to, and Alex is like, yeah, we went there and I fucked his brains out. And so really just saying yeah, like this is my guy now. So like okay, like too bad that you're gonna go on and try to figure out a way uh to kind of ruffle our feathers, but it's not gonna work. So Uh, so we go on here, and Alex and Nick, they're in bed together again. Because of course, from the whole foot business, we were kind of thinking they were going to lead there anyways. So we have Alex that is going on and asking Nick about his previous relationship, and to have seen in his mind uh, where he thought it was going, and then eventually how he knew it was over. So, like, Nick goes on and says, like, well, yeah, she came from a good family, and he thought that there was like potential there, uh, but he realized that he was just being safe being with her, and so yeah, so like he realized that like he needed to just let her go and just start all over. So we cut to Alex that is going on and finally making her way to the dance school. I know that there's a whole name for this whole school, and eventually there's a piece of paper that says the whole name of the school. I'm just saying dance school because this is way easier, and I know that this is to be a school in Pittsburgh and so on and so forth, and I'm sure this may actually be a school somewhere. Whatever, I'm just like, cut me some slack. I'm trying to figure out a way to quickly rattle off this movie because I know I'm almost getting over the time of this actual film, and I thought this would be done a lot quicker. But anyways, so Alex goes on and meets with his secretary, and she goes on and mentions about the whole application process. Alex is to have gone on and overheard this some days before. So the secretary is to also mention about the invitation process and everything along those lines. So Alex goes on and walks off with this paperwork. So Nick goes on and notices that Alex had made her way into the school. So Nick goes out of his way to go into this school to ask this secretary, "Hey, did you just see this girl with this military coat on? Um, what was she here for?" And so the secretary goes on and explains what she had gone on to just do. So Nick goes on and makes a phone call because he knows somebody from that school. So he goes on and speaks with Mr. Bradley, and so he ends up asking this guy specifically for a favor. So Alice goes on and fills out this application and sends it in. So we then go on to then have what seemingly looks like some Halloween party because everyone is in costumes, unless this is just a weird night of the week that everybody just wears costumes because I don't know what this bar is really like. So we go and we have Jack, and he has this bunny costume, and he's dancing, and eventually he's dancing with one of the women. He's dancing with one of the dancers. So here, at one point, we go on and we have Tina that turns Alex. This time around, we get a conclusion. He called. Thank God, Tina. Thank God. Woo! High five. Let's throw a freaking parade for Tina. This is great. Hopefully you get some good thick laying getting into, I don't know, whatever. Like either that or you just have a really good night. Whatever. So uh hopefully hopefully you get a freaking satisfied. Whatever, whatever. Moving on. So uh so all of a sudden there seems to be an alligator that comes into the bar, or what looks like, yeah, this costume is kind of just weird looking. So Eventually, they come to find out that this Gator is to be none other than Richie. So Alex goes on and starts, and it's kind of funny because Alex is in this like clown makeup, so it's actually kind of cool. So Richie is to be revealed. He is the alligator or crocodile. I'm not quite sure. Let me know in the comments below. And so Alex is like, wait a minute, like, shouldn't you be in LA right now? And Richie's like, well, yeah, I went to this bar and they were to go on and not want me as a comedian, but they were like, hey, how about you be a waiter? I'm like, no, I'm a cook. So we have to assume that it just didn't pan out for Richie at this LA. So he probably just maybe made his way back to the same bar. So all of a sudden, Jeannie is like, oh, hi, Richie. And so here's where Richie takes time to start speaking with Gina. And here's where we find out that Richie was like calling her all the time because he just missed her. So Jeannie's like, well, that's good and great and all, but I've already moved on. I'm with Johnny. So the two of them walk off, and I'm like, like, this isn't the happy ending I wanted. Anyways, so we now transition to Alex. She ends up getting this letter, and she is not quite sure if she wants to open it or not. So she goes on and makes her way to her welding job, and then finally is to get up the courage to open up the envelope and start reading it. I'm sure her hands are really just filthy, but okay, just whip out this letter now and just read it. So Alice goes on and finds out that she was accepted to do this audition. And so she's just so happy. She goes on and she finds Nick and tells him about the letter and has him read it, which Nick already knows what's going on here. So he'd even gone on to make reservations at a restaurant a day ahead of time, knowing this was going to happen. And eventually, when Alex finds out about it, it'll all blow up in Nick's face. So, because Nick will go on and tell Alex, like, hey, how about we go to this restaurant? I have the perfect place. Let's go tonight. And Alex agrees. So, cut to Alex wanting to go on and share the news with Hannah. So Hannah goes on to be given a letter by Alex, and she starts reading it. Alex goes on to mention how excited that she is that she can't stop shaking about it, which understandable. Like, yeah, this is the thing that she's always ever wanted. So Hannah's going on and telling Alex like how much she believes in her and how much she knows she'll do well at the school. And Alex goes on to tell Hannah how she couldn't have done all this without Hannah by her side. And that'll be kind of sad because eventually, spoilers for Hannah, eventually she dies in this film. Because Alex will go on and will go to Hannah's place, and Hannah won't be there. Someone will go on and tell Alex that Hannah died, sadly enough. R.I.P. Hannah. R.I.P. So we have Nick and we have Alex, and they're in the car together. And here's where we go and we get the reveal after they've gone on and ate at this restaurant. Alex is to be wowed that they had been able to get into that restaurant. And Nick has said, yeah, I made reservations last night. And Alex is like, well, last night? Like, wait a minute. Like, so you already knew that it was going on and I was going to get into school. So, oh, like, you knew a guy, you asked for a favor. And so Alex goes on and has Nick completely stop the car. She gets out of it and she starts walking. Alex is upset with Nick because Alex wants to do everything on her own. That's very admirable, and I love that about her. Uh, but hey, like sometimes it does take two to tango. But also, like we really can enjoy these characters that like to do things on their own steam and but like also it's like it's it really is nice to know that you're not alone out in the world, like it really is. So uh so Alex goes on and tells Nick that she didn't need his help and she storms off. Nick is just kind of concerned that Alex may go on and get hurt, get into a car accident or any other things because she's just kind of in a tunnel right now and with Nick. And so yeah, so he's just kind of concerned what could happen to her. So Alice goes on and tells Nick that since he had gone on and done this for her, that there's no way that she's gonna go on and go to that audition. So cut to Alex going on and calling uh Mobbies and asking if Jeannie is there. So it seems that Alex had not gone to Mobbies in quite a bit of time. So uh Alex comes to find out from the phone call that Jeannie has gone on to make her way to the other bar, which is Zanabar, uh, or Zanzibar. So Alex very upset by this news. Alex goes on and makes her way to Zanzibar and comes to find out that Jeannie is none other than going on and being in the buff, just full on buff. And she is just having her legs just kind of fling up in the air, and she's like, "Well, whatever. I'm getting all this huge amount of money. Uh, I'm sure it was just tons and tons." So we go on and we have these girls dancing, and there's at one point where this guy goes on and takes this money and just slaps down on this girl's butt, and like the money stays for a little bit and then it falls. So it's like, really? Like, you can't just go on and hand this woman this money? You have to just go on and slap her on the butt? Like, come on. Like, just treat her a little bit better than that. Anyways, so be a gentleman. But, anyways, we have all these women, they're topless in all their glory, and Alex bursts into this bar, and guys like Johnny and the other guy, I'm trying to think of his name right now. Cecil? Yeah, Cecil. They go on and they notice that Alex is making her way into the bar and they're trying to stop her. So Alex goes on and she grabs Jeannie and she drags her out of the bar, the Zanzibar. And Johnny grabs Alex, like, "Hey, what are you doing? That's my girl." And Alex goes on and takes Johnny and thrusts him away. Johnny falls and knocks over one of the girls. And so Alex thrusts this coat onto Jeannie and they just walk out of the bar. Like, so did Jeannie not have any clothes on her or any nothing? Like, did she have her wallet in some locker somewhere? Like, they're just leaving this bar. So Alex is going on and upset with Jeannie, like, "How can you have gone onto that bar?" And Jeannie's like, "Well, they were paying me money, good money." And all of a sudden, all the money starts falling out of the ground, and so Jeannie starts grabbing on the money, and then all of a sudden it starts raining, and Jeannie's like, "I'm cold," And so the two of them both hug. So we cut to Alex making his way back to her place, and she meets up with Nick, with the dog alongside of him. So Nick goes on and tells Alex how worried he was about her, and so the two of them start talking, and the two of them start arguing. So, excuse me. Alex goes on and asks, uh, or Nick goes on and asks Alice if she's going to go on. She's going to go to that audition. Like he had to pull a lot of strings to go on and get her that audition. This is kind of like Coyote Ugly, where the guy had to go on and give up his like comic book so that way the girl gets an audition or something, and like the girl is going on and practicing because she had a bit of stage fright with all these like cardboard cutout things. I remember Coyote Ugly. I'd seen that movie. Uh, so Alex, because of her pride, will not go on and take that audition. And so Nick wants her to go on and do the audition because he knows that's her dream. And it's like, no, you need to go on and you need to live your dream or you're going to die. Man, such extremes there. But like, he is honestly going on and just be like, yeah, you can't give up on your dream. Like, you obviously are really like, the first time that Nick really saw her, she was dancing. So if he was wowed by her, then yeah, like he knows that this girl should be going on and going to a school for dance. Like he feels that's where she belongs. So yeah, she needs to do this. So Nick goes on and he leaves. So now we have Alex and she's on this like, it looks like a rail car of some kind. This thing here like looks so like unusual to me, because I've never seen something quite like this before or know the exact way of phrasing what exactly it is. I think I might have seen it in the movie I Spy once. I'm not sure. The Owen Wilson, Eddie Murphy film, but again, not quite sure. So Alex goes on with her bike here as I'm waiting for something to load. Of course. Yeah, there we go. So here's where Alex makes her way to Hannah's place and she finds out the sad news: Hannah's dead. So Alex goes on and mourns Hannah's loss and goes on against this wall to smoke this cigarette and has these jeans. Why did I bring that up? I don't know why. But anyways, so Alex goes on and makes her way to the dressing room of all the girls, and I believe this girl is Margot. But if anything, like I don't know enough about these girls, and it doesn't really seem that this girl says what her name is at any point within this dialogue, so I have no idea who she really is. I'm hoping this is Margot. So Margot goes on and tells Alex about the dresses and the costumes that she used to have. But eventually, those dresses and those costumes ended up getting a little old, and eventually she stopped wearing them. Uh, but yeah, like that was her thing that she liked the most. So Margot mentions how like eventually things will get to you, but the show must also go on. So Margot ends up going onto the stage, and Alex then goes on and makes her way to confessional with tears in her eyes. So the next thing we see is that finally Alex is going on to this audition. So Alex is going on and having all her gear on, and she makes her way to this room with all these people that have all these like really just small tables in front of them and all these big lavish chairs. So Alex goes on and puts on a vinyl record. So this really tells you, I guess, the time period. And so she goes on, she puts on this record, and she starts doing her routine. But then she messes up a little and asks if she can go on and start over, to which they all seem to agree. So Alex says go on and start again, and then she goes back into her routine. This time it's flawless. So Alex is going on and doing all of these moves that is to eventually get the feet just starting to just bump up and down of these judges. Like some of the judges are like, ooh, ah, ah, and like there's one guy that consistently has to just keep blowing his nose, and he's getting into like the song while he's blowing his nose, just like yeah, just blow that nose more, yeah, yeah, just get into that enjoyment of that nose blowing. So this girl is going on and doing all these moves, and she's doing all these weird pointing things. Yeah, the whole pointing thing, that was like, what the heck was that? But like, regardless, I guess it doesn't really matter because like she's just wowing them with all of her fancy dancing skills because she's, I guess, to be so well rounded in her dancing ability that maybe they have not gone on and seen quite a style like this. So if anything, they were just kind of surprised by everything that she was kind of just delivering here. So she has an interesting, just wide range of scale. Also, she made that huge leap that she did. Also, so after this whole dance was said and done with, Alice goes on and makes her way out of the school, and it doesn't seem to be all of certain of whether or not she got in the school or not. But if anything, what does seem to happen is Nick has a dozen roses in his hand, and there seems to be a ribbon on the dog. So Nick goes on and takes Grunt's like paw, and he kind of does this kind of like so Alex goes on and meets up with Nick. The two of them embrace and they kiss, and I think Alex goes on and gives Nick a rose, and then they go to credits. So with that said, I'm gonna get the heck out of here because I know it was like an hour and 30 minutes. And why did I take so long to review this movie? I have no answer for you. But at least this is done. At least this is gonna be uploaded. At least this is gonna be a thing I did once. I'll be surprised if this one actually has anybody check it out. But really at this point this one was so easy to do compared to so many of the other things that I was to go on and just be like heck yeah I'll do this one like just to get another thing out there but yeah so because when going on from like Power Rangers to then this I'm like man this is gonna be a breeze. So as far as future reviews is gonna go, like this was just like a crazy experiment to just go on and do. Uh, this was not actually a planned thing to do. Like I think this is just kind of like, hey, I'm just feeling just doing this today. So if this surprisingly does work out, then that's great because I'm like, well, good because I was not planning on this one at all. It is kind of funny how like there are things that like I planned for them, and I'm like, yeah, like I definitely had this one like in the pipeline to get done, and then when I do it, like it goes nowhere. But then the ones where I'm just like, hey, let's chuck this together, like no real thought, like I'm just gonna throw this, and that one ended up doing like huge numbers, and I'm like, well, more than likely this one probably will do numbers because people will probably think, oh, this is the movie, and then they'll just go into this video and just hear me talk and like, you like, why are you spending X number of minutes? Like, sorry, like I'll go on and I'll tell you this the exact app of where to watch this film, so you can see it. So there's that for you. Just all you have to do is just wait like what 5 whole minutes to get that information. But it's okay if people don't go on and take that journey. But I'm also trying not to like I'm uh, if anything, I'm sure, like, because they always say that I never feel that people are always going to go on and watch these whole entire videos. So there's certain times where I just have these little things where I basically just go on and just kind of say what I want after, because it's like, man, like I took this whole time to do all these things and whatever. So like there's certain times by the end of these videos, I always have these little Easter egg nuggets of little things where I'm just being very honest with people and just getting anything off my chest before I leave. Uh, but yeah, so yeah, I think that was basically it. So with that said, I'm gonna get the heck out of here. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, everybody. Hopefully I'll go on and I'll do Footloose somewhere down the road. Because that maybe I don't know if that's gonna even appeal to anybody, but uh, that could be a fun project to do at some point. Um, but if anything, I'm still gonna go on and do a lot of the movies that I had planned on doing through so many videos. I mentioned like, oh yeah, I'm doing Mission Impossible 2, or I'm gonna go on and I'm gonna do so many things I've said in so many videos that still haven't come up yet. Uh, but also, I'll still be going on and finishing up my physical medias and my comic book collections. I'll still kind of be doing those intermittently because they're actually honestly really easy videos to do. As well as also, I'm really having fun just figuring out ways to talk about those. Yeah, all the videos aren't perfect. If anything, I'm just going on and I'm just like, hey, here's this, hey, here's that, hey, then I'll have little anecdotes, or I'll just say something stupid. Like definitely in the last physical media video, like when I got to the Underworld movies, I'm like God, like I just felt like just so like man, I'm stupid. Like I didn't exactly know what I was saying there during those movies. Cause I'm like, okay, I think this is this movie, and then I'm like, no, maybe it's that one. I don't know, maybe that. So yeah, like hopefully I'll go on and I'll say the right things at the right perfect time. Like, goodbye, everybody. Bye, everybody.